Hey, let's talk about IFA. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Oya Faminke. I am a Yanifa. I've been a Yanifa for a year now, initiated in Ibadan, Nigeria. And I have, in the past year, have come, and actually before, have come to really see a lot of chatter and traffic as far as IFA from various social media sites. And while some is very educational and encouraging, and in some is very misconstrued. So I've just decided to come and speak about my journey a little bit, starting with that, and then speak on IFA, as this is a part of my calling with IFA. And so let's just dive into it, shall we? So I chose IFA because it was a part of my bloodline. I started with my ancestry, and I always encourage those to start with their ancestors. You have to start there first before you go into any type of ATR. And being that is because it starts with your ancestors, right? We are a part, we live, our fight and our blood is their fight and blood. And some of us are chosen to be generational curse breakers. And while some of us are to start and plant those seeds for those to come. So I started with my ancestry, and I started with really diving into who I was. And it made sense. A lot of things clicked as I looked on my mother and my father's side. And so it comes to light that Ifa is heavily on my mother's side. So much so that I come from a line of Yanifas. So for me, it was a no-brainer choice to dive into it. And as I did and went down that rabbit hole, I saw that I a lot of things when I was younger, a lot of things as I grew up, things that my personality, things that I'm interested to, things that are attracted to me, things that I attract are things that actually come towards me. It all made sense. It all like connected. It was like pieces of a puzzle that connected together. And for me, it was just where I was excited and just kept going down that rabbit hole and kept seeing, how the very things within my grandmother and my grandfather, and the stories that I've heard about my great grandparents, as being healers, herbalism, and just other different things that is a part of my culture. So, in doing so, I started on my path with IFA, became a devotee, and my learning and discipline, and then end up becoming a Yanifa, as that is a part of my life path. So, for some, again, I will say this: all initiates, everyone that's in. Well, let me say this: everyone that comes to IFA, um, is not all initiates. Some of us are just devotees, which is fine. IFA brings it's a way of life. It's not a religion. How some people think it's a religion is not. It is a way of life. And so it is that way of life that, opens your opens the avenue for your life path, as well as answering questions for your purpose and journey. So that's a little bit about me. We'll dive more later on as I release my, tell my story. But just to give you that brief overview of who I am and why I chose IFA, why IFA was my choice. I am an Isheshe because you have three different roots. There's Isheshe, there's leukemia, and there's Santeria. And there's various chatter on those as well that have been looking at and listening to. So, but we'll dive on that on another subject and another topic. But IFA, again, I want to just say It's not a religion, it's a way of life. It is Okay, let me start here. Let me start here, right? Okay, so we have Olodumare, and Olodumare is the ultimate source of everything. From whom all emanated and was created from. And as you see me looking down, I'm looking at my notes because I want to stay on topic. So, because I can't talk and get off topic. So with Olodumare, next to that is his attributes that was created. So in Christianity, there's God, there's Jesus, there's the Holy Spirit. And so again, and I'm not knocking religion at all. Religion, there's various forms of spirituality that you will find in religion because spirituality outdates religion. And religion started at a certain point where spirituality was the beginning. So, with that, you have Olodumare, which is God, another name for God, but in IFA, we refer to the Almighty, one true creator, Olodumare. And then you have his attributes. And his attributes, one of those attributes is wisdom. And that wisdom guides us and gives us everything that we can consult on, right? And so Ifa was redefined as one of those attributes from Olodumare. And it is the very wisdom of Olodumare, right? And so that's why Ifa it ranks highest next to Olodumare when we are speaking of Ifa and we're speaking of this way of life in spirituality. And so that is just, a brief overview of what that is. And then various other attributes that come are the Orishas. And we'll dive more into that because there's a lot of misconception as far as who the Orishas are and, are they angels? Are they something else? And are they fallen angels or are they this? And so it's, they had a life here on earth but now they're, these deities and guides. How is that? So we'll definitely take another deeper dive into Orishas, but I just wanted to really clear up some air and really talk about Ifa as it relates to a way of life and not a religion, as it's a part of Olodumare. It is the very attribute, which is Olodumare's wisdom. And having that wisdom of Olodumare, you can have certain characteristics that's been attributed to Ifa. And it gives you an understanding, into the wisdom. And so then you might say, well, okay, well, where does the divination come from, right? And the Babalaos and the Yanafas and, Orumila. And so in this diagram, so I love this diagram, right? I wanna show you this diagram right here. I want to show you exactly one of the diagrams that I really dived into when I started my journey, right? So I don't know if you can really see this, but this diagram, it shows you Olodumare, it shows you the various attributes, right? So gives you a somewhat similar. So you have Olodumare, then you have Ifa, which is the wisdom, which is a attribute. You have another attribute, which is Orumila. Orumila is an Orisha, but was an Orisha who was granted the wisdom of having that wisdom to be able to interpret the wisdom of Olodumare, which is again in the concept of Ifa. And again, we'll take another deeper dive into this because I really want to start here with this general foundation of Ifa and then go more into life paths, divination, and Orishas. But Orumila is a disciple and is an Orisha that receives that wisdom from Olodumare, and then in turn gives that wisdom through tools used to the Bablos. And so these are tools that you might have seen in certain divinations, like Opale, divinations being one of them. So it's where those tools are used to receive those messages given. And then in those messages is a divination. It's not a reading, it's a divination. Different difference between a reading and a divination. We have various readings. We have tarot readings, we have oracle readings, but a reading is just a reading of current energy, of what that energy is stating in that particular time, right? A divination gives you a solution to what it is that is coming out of your energy. So that's the difference, if that makes sense, as to what it is between a reading and divination. And IFA gives you a divination. It gives you what the messages are, but also a solution as to what is needed for you, a prescription, if you will, to help you in your journey, to either align you back, to either keep you on your journey. Because all things are possible. It's not easy, but all things are possible through IFA by giving those divinations and by getting those messages. And that's why it's very important to get those divinations and get those evos and get those etutus, because you want to be able to fulfill the solutions or prescriptions, if you will, from the messages. So I hope that helps some. Again, I'll be back with more. And if you would like more, please place it in the comments and let me know what is it that you would like to hear, what is it you'd like to know. And I'll definitely get a part two, not round, but a part two going, okay? All right, thanks, bye.